All right, so this is our May 9th class. We are, I am Audrey Sill, and this is Esther Olszewski, and we're part of Empowered Parents. We work with Utah Parents United, and we wanted to bring you a class about, well, I'm going to have Esther introduce the class, but she is a director for Empowered Parents, and she'll just jump right into it.
All right. So if you guys want to follow along on a browser, it's really easy to find, but let me just see. So where I'm going is to sassgo.org, and I can type that in the chat a little later, but it's sassgo.org. So can you see that?
Yeah, we see the website, yes.
Okay, so if you go down to more, and then it says education series, this is where we are going to start pulling from. So I know that this protecting your little, that's entitled Protecting Your Little Girl, but this SAS is a self-defense group that was started by these women who were trying to protect themselves from sexual assault. And they train and mentor women who have been assaulted, and also then take that experience into helping women to protect themselves and to feel empowered. And while talking to them about doing a self-defense class, which is something we want to do in the future, they suggested we watch these educational videos first. So this first one, Protecting Your Little Girl, even though they talk about your little girl, I felt like these were so important for all of our elementary school kids, and help them to recognize some key things in keeping themselves safe. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch this video together. And then if you have any questions or comments, type them in the chat. We'll stop. We'll talk about these after. If anyone has any insight or personal experiences of ways they've implemented these strategies, we'll talk about that and share that as a group. And then we'll move on to the middle school mind and do the same thing. So let's get started on this.
Is it going? Yes, we don't see anything.
Can you not hear it?
I can't hear it.
Oh my goodness. All right. Let me mute myself and then see if it'll let it share.
I still don't hear anything.
I am so sorry, you guys. I don't know why it won't let me do these videos. Does anyone have a suggestion?
So I could play it, but you said when I did it, it was somehow choppy or something.
Yeah, the video kept skipping,
Okay.
but you can give it a try. And let's see if we can do it that way. And I'll try to pull up on my computer again and see if it works.
Okay, let's see.
What's it called?
So
Sorry.
the website is in the chat.
Okay, I'll try and see if I can share it.
And then you need to click on more. And then go to educational series. Do you want to try it, Brooke, or do you want me to?
Brooke, it's sasgo.org.
So go up to more and click on educational series. It'll start talking in a minute.
I'm the president and founder of SASGO. I am also a former elementary educator and a mom of 3. I'm Shannon Henry. Welcome to Protecting Your Little Girl. We've trained thousands of women across the globe, and inevitably we find that when you tell women that they are strong, loved, and full of purpose, some of them smile, some of them look away, and some of them, many of them, start to tear up. Yet when you tell those same facts to an elementary school girl, most of the time they look at you dead in the eyes and go, I know, because there's a confidence there, and it's a beautiful thing and fertile ground for planting seeds of truth and skills that will help her remove any weeds in her life that threaten her growth. The details I'm going to go into right now are things that I would never share with your children. We have developed a standardized and age-appropriate system and programming that is useful for anyone to learn, but especially children in elementary school. Our goal is to empower them, not scare them. Now, with that said, you know your kiddos far better than I ever could. So if you decide you want to share some of this information with them, you certainly can later. So what do we need to know? As parents, there are some basic facts that I want you to understand. Here are the statistics as they stand right now in the United States. 1 in 6 girls will experience a sexual assault. 1 in 5 if you're in college. Every 9 minutes, that victim is a child. 6 to 11-year-olds are the most likely to be sexually abused multiple times. 80% of them will know their abuser. 72% of them will either be in their home or the home of the attacker. 1 in 3 of them, as they grow, will experience a physically abusive relationship or even a stalker. On average, it takes 12 incidents of abuse before the perpetrator is ever reported, and less than 1% of perpetrators will actually ever see a day in jail. That's where we are. And it's an epidemic, and it shows no signs of slowing down. So it's critical that we teach our children to recognize danger coming, escape it, and have people to speak to about it should they need help, and to fight for themselves if they need to. Preventing grooming and sexual abuse. So many of us have grown up learning about stranger danger, but I just shared with you that 80% of perpetrators are somebody that we know, love, or trust. Instead, we teach girls about tricky people. What are tricky people? Tricky people are people who act like they have the best intentions. They seem nice, but they don't. And we know that tricky people can include coaches, neighbors, family members, friends. Sadly enough, we must teach our children to recognize dangerous behavior cues, because anyone can be a predator, and they're good at hiding their intentions. I always say, nobody goes around wearing a shirt saying, I do bad things behind closed doors. So we have to teach your kids to recognize it. The use of certain tactics, particularly tactics like grooming, is used often to get what they want. Are you familiar with that? It's a strategy to lay the groundwork for abuse. And it starts slowly. It starts with small touches on the knee or on the shoulder. And if the kiddos tolerate it, next time they'll go a little bit higher or get a little bit closer to where their ultimate goal is. And they do this repeatedly until they're where they want to be. And while they're doing that, they have to keep our kids quiet about the abuse. So predators will say things like, this is just between us. This is our secret. We wouldn't want to upset mommy or daddy or get you in trouble. They'll often even threaten things to hurt their animals or their siblings as a threat to keep the act between the two of them. It's a sick and twisted game. And it's important to note to your children that there's a difference between surprises and secrets. And hopefully they will always feel comfortable telling you any secret. So often women and girls have a disease to please. It's imperative that your girls learn now that no is a full sentence, and it's okay to say no. What is not okay is for that no to be ignored. Many people say no with their actions, turning to the side, smiling, looking away. And while those should be cues for other people to stop, sometimes, and especially for predators, this is a sign that the victim is not comfortable enough to say no, which they see as an advantage and as a weakness that they prey upon. They need to know that their no carries just as much weight as their yes does. And it should be heard by everyone they interact with. At our house, no is a big deal. If kids are wrestling with my husband or with each other and someone says no or stop, we stop immediately. And it's enforced with everyone so that the kids and our kids and your kids understand they can say no to anyone and it should be respected. And if it's not, again, there's not something wrong with them. There's something wrong with the other person who's not listening. When stories come out in the news about pedophiles, the pedophile is always someone deeply embedded in the community, it seems, and working with families, schools, groups, churches, children. People are always shocked and typically say, what a nice person they seem to be. Well, they had to be in order to blend in and fly under the radar and get what they want. It's like an alcoholic. If I'm an alcoholic, where do I spend my time? Where is it that I can find alcohol? Well, it's either a bar or possibly at home, whichever is convenient. If I'm a pedophile, where do I spend my time? With children, with families. Addicts go to where their addiction is. And it is an addiction, so please don't be shocked. Take as much time to find out about the person surrounding your children as you do to choose your next car or your next home. I promise it's far more important long-term to her safety and well-being. Teach her to use her voice. Teaching your little girl to use her voice is really, really important because it's how she'll advocate for herself later. while she's young and in your presence, it's really nice to make sure that you're helping her to learn how to do this. So one of the things that I like to suggest people do is go on a date somewhere, to Chick-fil-A, let's say. And while you're there, have her order her meal. They get what they want. They get to share the information of, hey, this is what I want. And then it comes to them and everything's smooth and easy. And that's really nice. Maybe one time she didn't get the fries she wanted. Have her tell them in your presence, hey, I got a small instead of a medium, let's say. And that way she gets used to saying when something's not quite right. In the same token, you can do that at the doctor, because there you're making sure that she's able to say what physically doesn't feel okay. If it's her tummy or her head or whatever it may be, it's good for her to say what hurts and then see that people respond by wanting to help. That way you're setting up that when she shares something that's physically uncomfortable or a need that they have and the other person chooses to ignore it, again, they'll know there's not something wrong with me, there's something wrong with the other person. Also, while we're on this subject of physical things, please teach her the real name for body parts. I'm not going to discuss those with you today. You're welcome. You know what they are, but teach her the real names so that she feels comfortable talking to you about them if she needs to. Or if something's wrong and she has to speak to someone else, she'll know what those proper terms are and be able to articulate it perfectly. You're giving her a common vocabulary this way and establishing yourself and her as a resource. God forbid she ever needs to be. Also, let her use her voice and teach her that being friendly doesn't always have to be physical. We tend to tell our kids to give people hugs when they greet them, whether it's grandparents or somebody out in public. She can be friendly without having to touch anyone. Encouraging her to speak or wave but is great, but she doesn't always have to physically touch somebody to provide gratification in that way. Her voice is enough. Establishing healthy relationships. It's so important to model healthy relationships. We have to show her what good behavior is, how someone should be treating her, and what healthy relationships look like. You might say, well, I'm a single mom or I'm a single dad. That's okay. There are so many ways to establish what a normal and healthy conversation look like with another human being. By establishing good relationships and respectful behaviors, you'll train her to expect the same in her own life. Here's what I mean. Within the Treasury Department, there is a whole department dedicated to finding counterfeit bills. What's interesting is that in their training for this, they never study any counterfeit bills. As a matter of fact, they don't look at them at all. They look at the bills as they are, the real deal. Over and over and over again, they study these, looking at how it feels, what it looks like, the colors, every inch of it is noticed. That way, when they're on the job and someone tries to pass off a fake bill, they recognize it immediately because they know the right thing so well that they can't be lied to. With 1 in 3 of us experiencing relationship violence and abuse, this is a critical concept to teach our girls. So help her set the standard. Take her out on a date. You can even arrange a time for her dad or granddad or even you to take her out. Invite her. And when she says yes, you show her the best time. And I don't mean spend a lot of money. You don't even have to ask her to get dressed up. Let her wear whatever she wants. Instead, do the things that really count. The things that show that you really do see her. Hold the door, listen to her, put the phone down, encourage her, ask her questions about things she really cares about. Remind her how smart she is, how funny she is to listen to, how interesting she is, and how lovable she is. And then at the end of the date, when you get home, stop at the door and look her right in the eye and let her know, today, I took you on a date, but one day you get to pick out the person you spend your time with and go on dates with. Make sure they see you and that they hear you and that they realize how strong, loved, and precious you are and purposed, just like I did today. Then promise to do that with them at least once a year. to reinforce that standard and make it a tradition so that the understanding is there of what a healthy relationship is and what a healthy relationship is not. Create that standard so that when an imposter, a counterfeit walks into her life, someone who doesn't want what's best for her, she'll spot it immediately, see it, and know again, there's not something wrong with me. There's something wrong with them. Teach her when she gets ready for those dates also not to think, gosh, I hope this person likes me, but instead to think, I hope I like them. That's the good stuff. Respect for the physical. When you take your daughter, your granddaughter, whoever it may be, to a friend's house or a birthday party, what do we normally ask them when we pick them up? Did you have fun? That is the key question. And there is nothing wrong with that. But I want you to ask an additional question. I want you to ask, did you feel safe? It's a very different question. She may not have the exact words to answer this, but kids, when they are uncomfortable, tend to say things like, my tummy felt funny, or I felt a little awkward. And when they do say that, ask a little bit more about that and see what you can find out. It's a great question to start a conversation and just check in and make sure that everything felt good while she was there. That's their instincts kicking in when they do say, my tummy felt funny or anything like that. And it's always worth listening to those and finding out why. Code word and safety zones. Let's say you just dropped her off at a friend's house. If she needs to call you and let you know that something isn't right, what's your plan? Have you thought about it? Code word is vital in so many situations for her, but especially this one. You can teach her that if her tummy ever does feel icky, that she can call you and you will come and get her, no questions asked. Let it be private and something she can easily work into a conversation. Redbird, Aunt Sophie, those are easy ones that she can say, hey, Mom, it's me. I just saw a redbird outside and I was thinking about you, so I thought I'd call. Or, hey, Mom, it's me. Did Aunt Sophie call me yesterday? I couldn't remember. And that way, nobody's clued in to the fact that she's not feeling comfortable about something, but you are. Along with a code word, it's important to establish safety zones within both your neighborhood and your home, so that if for any reason they need to get out of the house, you've established with your house and with your family where they'll go to get the help they need. Likewise, having a safe space to go to in the home can be critical as well. Practicing these builds confidence, not fear. Also, if you haven't tried it, how do you know it'll work? Test it out. If their plan is to move a dresser over and climb on top of the dresser to get out, have you tried it? Does it work? Make sure that they're comfortable doing it as well. Eliminate one-on-one scenarios too. At this age, when they have no supervision, it can be dangerous, whether online or in person. Simply stated, reducing one-on-one contact reduces opportunities for perpetrators by making the situation more unfavorable for them. We understand that sometimes there are no other choices. And if that's the case, just check in often. Be the leader. Our children learn from us, especially at this age, in a multitude of ways. So as a parent, as a grandparent, as anybody who influences these children, I want you to be a leader, not only in scenarios where there's danger, but also just in moments in their life where there may be chaos. I want you to bring them into your calm. For your home, I want you to lock the doors. They'll watch you. Pay attention to your children. Shut down your phone. Shut the garage doors too. These are all safety measures and that you can take, but also verify for your child just how important they are when you take the time to talk to them. When you're out and about, park near the light and near the door and talk about it. If you feel uncomfortable enough somewhere that you want to leave, explain in a simple way that your tummy felt funny about something, or that your instincts just went off, and that you want to be safe and you'll come back to that space later, on another day maybe. Pay attention to your surroundings and talk about it out loud. Ask them to do the same. You can do it in the car line. You can do it in the store. You can do it in the movie theater or in the mall. Think about an escape route. Talk about it. It's 2021. And as much as we'd love for shootings to disappear, hope is not a plan. Teach your children now how to escape and not freeze when it matters most. Look for exits and show them where they are too. In the neighborhood, I'd like to encourage you not to let your children walk around the neighborhood unattended, or at least make sure that they have eyes on them all the time. It only takes a second for someone to grab them, and that's a lifetime of you sitting awake in your bed wondering where they are, and it's just not worth it. Closing. Everything we've talked about so far is meant to build up their ability to assess risk for themselves and execute a plan to ensure their safety. You'll sleep a lot better when they go off to live their own lives, knowing that you've reinforced this for years. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us at team@sasco.org. We are always here to help you protect the child.
Thank you. Thanks, Brooke, for running that. So I didn't see any comments in the chats. I wanted to just make a couple comments. First of all, again, you can go to sasco.org. That web address is in the chat, and watch these videos again. I think it's really important to watch them several times. But a couple points I wanted to make was that 1 in 3 women by the time they reach adulthood will have experienced some sort of assault. That is just staggering to me. And then where they said that that there were 12 incidents of assault before they tend to be reported, and that's, again, that's just too many. I really like how they talk about tricky people, and helping your kids to see that it's just in their behaviors that they're asking for you to keep it secret, and to teach our kids the difference between surprises and secrets. Let's see, someone wrote, what are the greatest differences when this is our homes versus our schools teaching it?
I can explain that. I just wanted to hear from other people because
Oh,
just reinforce those points and make them more forefront, because fighting this HB 274 from Carol Moss to teach sexual assault and grooming in schools, it really had me in a panic. But even talking with Dr. Gary Thompson, he was like, no, Utah needs to know this because Utah has so many sexual assaults, and it's probably because of the nice culture and all that stuff. He's like, it needs to be taught. And I'm like, well, here's this problem. He's like, oh yeah, I can see that. And he's like, I'm on the fence for this one. And so I think it's important for us to be able to understand what the differences are between teaching this at school and teaching this at home for our kids and for other kids who may not receive it. And I was thinking, what if we can get this into our church programs for young women, and bring that there and convince them and say, here's a really great activity, and really make this more, but see, then that's not in the home. And so,
but it's with the parents. And that's why I like this SAS program, because as we get into the actual live classes and classes with instructors, it's always with the mothers and their daughters. It's always, it's empowering those relationships and making that connection. And it's not with the school. And I think your point is really valid. it's really important to understand that we cannot pass this off onto the schools to teach us and to teach our kids. We need to be the one telling them. And that's why I love these people. I love their program, because they're constantly talking about ways to build up your relationship so that you are the safe person for your kid, so that you are building those safe words, and so that your kid knows that you already have a plan. That is super, super important. And I think that's my frustration with a lot of these parent classes, is because that's where we need the engagement, is with the parents, with their children. We can't just send them links and things of how to connect in their school and how to help teachers and students connect with each other. We need to get parents engaged and have parents be the ones connecting, and know that they are, and their kid knows that they are the go-between between the school.
I love that. That could even apply to SEL maybe. It's like if your parents there and they're teaching you, or I don't know how these are run, but that format sounds great.
Yeah, it's always with the mothers. It's never at the exception. It's always with the families and helping women to have that support between each other and between mothers and daughters. What
Are
did
you
you
going
guys?
to start one?
Yeah, well, what I would like to do after this video series, then there's a live interactive training with mothers and daughters. And then we sign up for a class, and I'm in the process of trying to find a school or a church that will let us use their gym. And we're going to have an actual SAS class where they come and teach you self-defense strategies. But that's the evolution that they've asked us to take it in, is to do these video series and then to do the online series. It's let me find what it's called. It's 10 critical skills for harm reduction. And that's the online virtual live interactive class. And then we do the in-person, where the people show up and they teach a whole class. And so, but I think it's really important that we understand these things, that we start getting engaged, we start establishing these things that they showed us in the video. And then for our middle schoolers, we can start that video too. And it gives you just more tips of how to then build on that relationship with your middle schoolers, and to think like them and talk like them, and really help them to understand from a different point of view. Like she said at the beginning, you tell a woman or a middle schooler or high schooler that they're pretty, and they're like, oh, thank you. But you tell an elementary school kid and they're like, I know. And so this is really important, that we look at their different ways that they think and meet them where they are. And so did anyone have anything that stood out to them, or anything that she mentioned that they're already doing that they see works well in their families?
I like
One thing-
how she said you have a code word. We have a code word with our family. And then also I like how, oh, I just forgot what she said. Just having the option to hug. That's always been something, we've always been respectful. I have very huggy children, and even between each other, it's a rule. You get permission to touch each other, to get a hug, or if someone says, no, I don't want a hug today, then you don't give a hug. So, but then I love how she mentioned you can be kind with your words and the way you wave, and you treat others with respect. You make others, like belittle others in that, because there's a lot of ways you can belittle other people by denying a hug or whatever. But I love how she said there's other ways to be kind and to show love. I can't remember exactly what word she used, but I think that's important because we want to teach them kindness and to teach them to respect other people and not belittle other people, but you don't have to do it with a hug. So
Yeah, I've we have a code words too. One thing that I don't remember where I heard it from, but we also have a text. All my older kids who have cell phones, they all enter a text and it just has a code word in it and it's saved in the drafts. And if they ever send that, it means call me right now, or if you know where I am, come pick me up right now. Or if you don't know exactly where they are, then it means call me, and then you can call and say, hey, where are you? And that just means call and make up an excuse, like, hey, where are you? Grandma's in the hospital. I need to come pick you up. And it just means get me out of here in a safe way. And so I think the code word of, like she said, is, hey, did Aunt Sophie call? Something like that is their way of saying, get me out of here without looking like a whiny chicken. Another thing I think is really important is what she said of when, instead of saying, oh, did you have fun? Make sure you also ask, do you feel safe? I haven't asked my kids that. I usually say, how did you feel at the party? Or how did you feel while you were over there? And give them the opportunity to, to talk more about their feelings and anything that made them feel uncomfortable. But yeah, Brooke, if you can start the middle school mind one, that would be great.
I am Director of Education with SASGO. I'm a former victims advocate, a mom of two. My name is Brett Brown, and this is the Middle School Mind. I love middle schoolers. They are some of my favorite people. They are funny and full of spunk and painfully honest, while at the same time totally insecure. It's a really unique time in a person's life, and it's one of my favorite times. Middle school is also a critical hinge point in terms of safety. It's just stuck right there in between childhood and teenage years, and often really overlooked. This is the time frame when most young people begin being groomed for and recruited into trafficking. It's when they're most likely to be exposed to pornography, and even more so, 30% of sexual assaults will occur before the age of 14. So it's a really critical time for some amazing people. We, as educators, guardians, parents, and leaders, have to take the time to understand why they're so vulnerable and wonderful, and start taking the steps to safeguard them and to help them safeguard themselves. And to do that, we have to look at the hallmark of middle school. So why are these people the way that they are right now? The first hallmark is their brain. And I know some parents are sitting there going, yeah, knew that part. For our kiddos in middle school, their limbic system, which is the site where emotions, impulses, and risk-taking lives, that part of their brain develops significantly ahead of what I call their thinker, which is their prefrontal cortex. So that's where logic, judgment, and reason stays in place. So boiled down, their yay, let's go for it is significantly stronger than the this is a bad idea part of their brain. It's why the emotions and the reactions were so strong, and they have this act first, think later behavior going on. And it's not on purpose. It's just where they are developmentally. And I know that there are parents sitting at home shaking their heads saying, yes, I have seen this. This is why our middle schoolers care about things so intensely and why they can wander into some really sticky situations with dangerous consequences. The second hallmark of middle school is identity development. They are going through this, who am I? Piece of, like, I'm gonna say that again. They are going through this, who am I? And it's a change in the way that they think. So I can explain it to you like this. If you ask an elementary age girl to describe herself, she'll give you facts. She'll tell you, my favorite color is purple. My dog's name is Rufus. I live, in South Carolina, things like that. If you ask a middle school aged girl to describe herself, she'll give you character traits. She'll say, I'm funny, or I'm smart, or I'm loyal. That's when we hear from them a lot, which I think is interesting. But if you look at that, that's a huge leap in development in the way that they see the world. So they become very people focused. So who am I, but also focused on their relationship to others. So what is my value? Do I belong? Which group is mine? And then the comparison game begins. So in middle school, what you end up with these girls is they're self-conscious and they're unsure and they're embarrassed with the changes in their bodies. And so middle school becomes the natural low point for self-esteem, in growing up. And predators know that. I'd like to find a prettier way to say this, but there just isn't one. In middle school, our daughters are being targeted based on their age alone. By nature, this age group feels confused, insecure, and they're going through a certain amount of separation from mom and dad, even in the healthiest household. And so what they want more than anything at this point is to be loved and appreciated and seen. And we all want that. But when you're 12, it's the core of who you are, and there's this longing attached to it, and predators know that, and they use it against them by becoming whatever that middle schooler thinks she needs. So if she is arguing with her friends or with mom and dad, these predators will step in and say, you're so right. I hear you and I believe you. If she's feeling like she has, if she's not feeling good about herself physically, low self-esteem, they'll tell her how beautiful she is. Predators will say and do whatever it takes to make her feel special and to gain her trust, which is why this really is kind of the crossroads into some really dangerous things, both in person and online. So let's talk about online for just a minute. You may have seen recently that within the last year, there was an online data company that has been partnering with law enforcement agencies across the country to help catch predators who are pursuing children online. So they started by creating fake profiles. So their first fake profile that they put on social media was a 15-year-old girl. When this fake 15-year-old girl went live on Instagram, within 1 hour, she was approached and solicited by 7 adult men. And after 9 days of having her profile up, she had been approached and solicited by 92 adult men. And while that is scary, when they created the second profile, they decided to go a little bit younger. So the second fake profile they made was 11-year-old Bailey. And what they found out when this fake 11-year-old's profile went live on Instagram is that she received her first message request in 1 minute and 7 seconds, and her first incoming video call from an adult man in less than 5 minutes. And it's terrifying. The younger they are, the more often they're approached, but it's more than just online. 30% of sexual abuse occurs before the age of 12. And for this age group, almost half of sexual offenses are committed by an older child, somebody under the age of 17. The other half are the adults in our children's lives. And I think that this is the point that needs to be made. It's not just people we don't know. 86% of all sexual abuse is committed by somebody we know, trust, or love. As parents, knowing all this, we have to make a plan, and it's one that has to be proactive and not reactive with each stage of their lives. So how do we do that? First step in our plan, talk early and talk often. When you sit down to talk about real things with your middle schoolers, those girls are going to roll their eyes. They are going to laugh at inappropriate moments, or they're going to act like they're slowly dying every moment that you bring it up. But here's the thing, practice makes perfect. You are setting the tone to begin communication with them. It's about naming something for what it is, so giving her the words to know how to talk about it. It's about talking about why some of these things can be harmful to her and hearing what she thinks about it. This is important. asking her questions. TV and radio will bring it up for you. Her friends' social media pages will bring it up for you. And you can turn to her and say, what do you think about that? And then hold on, because middle schoolers can say some crazy things, but we have to listen for what's at the bottom of it and give them the language they need to think it through. You're setting her up to use critical thinking skills and to really look at her life in a different way. And I think the biggest part of this, talking early and talking often, is it allows you to be the resource for her. She is going to find someone in her life to ask questions about life. What she needs to know is that you can be that person. Otherwise, she's going to find someone else, whether it's her best friend, Sally Lou, who doesn't know anything about anything. And Sally Lou's going to be wrong. But if you set it by saying, I'm here, I'm willing to listen, and I'm willing to talk, eventually she'll learn how to do it, and it'll become something much more natural. So step number 2, with our middle schoolers, we have to set and enforce boundaries. There is no such thing as too much when you're 12 years old. Their brain only wants more, okay? But that's why it's our job to decide this is kind of where we're going to block things off. And she's not going to thank you for it initially. And I'll put it like this. When it comes to boundaries in each stage of our lives, the boundaries have to start tight till we get used to whatever that new stage is, and make sure that we understand it and that she understands it. We can trust her choices, and then you loosen it up as you go. And so when you enforce a boundary, whether it's that you're not going to have social media or that her cell phone is going to sleep in your room, whatever those rules are, and you know your family best, you start small and you loosen them up over time as you gain trust. The first thing she's going to do is test that boundary. It's kind of like when you get on a roller coaster ride and that bar comes down and it clinks into place. What is the first thing that you do? You shake it, right? And you shake it not in the hopes that it'll come loose, but to make sure that it'll stay. Our daughters are going to do the same thing. You're going to put down a boundary. She's going to shake it just to make sure you mean what you say. And it's not being disrespectful. It's how she's learning her world. And once she shakes it and knows it's secure, it helps her to feel safe. And as time goes on, you can loosen it as you go. So number 3, to the best of your ability, know who is in her life in person and online. We as Americans spend more time researching the next car we're going to buy than we do the people who are actually interacting with our kiddos, whether it's their coach or their best friend's parents or their friends are online. And that has to change. We have to spend some time doing due diligence to get to know the people around us. And number 4, if there is online activity, stay ahead of it. We have to understand the technology and be able to track it. The technology thing happened so fast that a lot of us as parents kind of felt left back in the dust playing catch up, and we need to switch it. It's our role to be the shepherd and allow them to be the sheep. And as shepherd, you walk out in front and teach them, if we're going to use technology, this is how we behave online, and put up the guardrails so that nobody falls off a cliff, right? So make sure that you understand it. And there's lots of resources out there to be able to track their activity. And she may not appreciate the fact that you're tracking her activity right now, but it's kind of like putting on her seatbelt. When she was a toddler, she didn't appreciate that either. But we do it to make sure that they can get from A to B safely. And when she's ready, she can go out on her own. So we have to have a plan in place as parents, but we also have to give her a plan so that she knows what to do. It is so important to teach our girls to recognize dangerous behaviors. Now I say that, we need to add without scaring her to death, but to teach her, one of the things that we do, we have a class specifically designed for middle school girls called Miss Independent. And in that class, we go through different behaviors in fun and age appropriate ways so that our girls will recognize on their own if someone is an imposter, so that they can sense if somebody's trying to manipulate them to gain their trust, or ignoring her when she says no, or trying to fill a need for her that she may or may not have. The goal is to set her standard, and so that she understands herself, so that she'll be able to see that imposter coming and know what to do about it, which means to come to you if there's a problem. We also need to make sure she knows there are no secrets, and this principle is so important. They have to know that no one who loves them will ever ask them to keep a secret from their family. And if someone does, something is wrong. And because we have given her a plan and because we have set her standards so high, she will know it's not that something's wrong with her, it's that something's wrong with them. And all of this is to allow her to live more freely and safely moving through the world. So no secrets, but also no alibis. Our goal with no alibis, it means if it's trusting our instincts. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. We have to honor that as parents and teach her to honor that as well. That if she's uncomfortable, now that she knows she can come to you because something seems off, we're not going to make up a story as to why the situation could be safe. We're going to say, I feel uncomfortable and I'm going to back out now. And we also have to give her a plan online. We want to make sure our girls know. We always say to turn, run, and tell. This is the middle school version of what we teach the little girls. The point is, I can put boundaries and teach my daughter, how to navigate this world in person and online, but I can't control what her friends do. I can't control what her friends send her, what they show her. What I can do is teach her to guard her heart and her mind because it's so valuable. And you can't unsee and unhear these things. So if somebody is sending her images or words that are inappropriate, we want to make sure she knows she can turn away, she can back out of that room, and she can come and tell you and feel comfortable doing that. The last that I would tell you as far as understanding the middle school mind and how to respond to it is to listen with love, model the behavior you want to see, let her be wrong and mess up and make bad choices because she's going to. It's going to happen. And let her see that you will be a soft place to land. If your daughter comes to you with the truth, celebrate the fact that she did. It doesn't mean that there aren't consequences, right? But she was brave enough to tell you the truth. And sometimes the truth is really, really hard. So it's an opportunity to show her what grace is and to show her what healthy love looks like. So be a soft place to fall. So let her be wrong, but also let her be right, okay? And excited. She will have a million short-lived, intense interests. Support her in those. Instead of telling her it's a phase, no matter how short, build her up. And it doesn't mean spend a ton of money, right? But listen to her, ask her questions about it. The more you build her up and her confidence and her belief in her ability to think, her belief in her own value, that confidence, the more she has, the harder it will be for someone to walk in and manipulate her. No one on earth loves her like you do. Make sure she knows that, not just by your words, but also by your actions and in how you listen. And at the close of any hard conversation, look her in the eyes and ask her, is there anything else you want me to understand? That question is a game changer. To welcome her to express herself and to feel understood is a beautiful thing and a great bookend to this relationship that you're building. When you build a foundation on understanding and communication and healthy boundaries, this all leads to safety and confidence and love that can last a lifetime. If you have questions, you can contact us at team@sasco.org because we are always here to help protect the tribe.
All right. Did anyone have any comments or anything that was particularly enlightening or some of those facts she shared are kind of scary.
I think middle school is a lot harder because they think they know and you're stupid. Elementary kids are a little bit easier too. So to start with elementary is, I don't know, I need more support for middle school. So I'm looking forward to the group class.
Yeah, I love how they keep reinforcing that if you don't have that relationship already established with your kids in elementary, you can start now, and you're going to get the eye rolls and you're going to get the roller coaster bar check. I love that analogy, but it's so important that it's not that they're trying to be disrespectful. They're seeing if they're safe, and we need to keep on showing them that we're going to show up. One of the greatest things I learned when my kids were preteens, just of how to control myself when they would come to me with the truth, or when they would ask me questions, is to not act embarrassed. And it was funny, my daughter, who's 21 now, was saying how, oh yeah, mom didn't get embarrassed with when we would ask her about things about our bodies or sex or anything they wanted to talk to me about. She's like, oh yeah, mom didn't get embarrassed. And I said, actually, yeah, I did, but I didn't show you, because then you would feel like, oh, this is something we're supposed to be embarrassed about, and then you wouldn't come to me. But it was a hard thing to talk about when my boys and girls would come and talk to me about different changes in their body or relationship things. And it's really important that we stay calm and that we are trustworthy, and that they feel like they can come talk to us and they're not going to get a big reaction out of us. I feel like this is more about how to change our behavior so that we can be strong to help our daughters and our sons. They, like I said, they talk mostly about girls, but this can be applied to our boys and girls. It's so important. And then that way we can start helping them to develop safe behaviors, but it has to start with us. Did anyone else have any thoughts? I was freaked out with those fake profiles. Oh, those scare me so bad when they lowered it from 15 to 11. Oh my goodness.
Well, the hard part, and I think another reason why like supporting each other in doing this is I always feel like I'm like over the top, which I probably am, but it's hard because we're like, this phone number someone gave you, if you haven't met them in person and don't know what they look like, then you can't text them, or we have to meet them. Or it's like, who's this person? When did you meet them? Oh, this person gave me their phone number. This person gave me their phone number. And we're just like, sorry, we have to delete this one, and it's scary, but I think that's just how the world is right now. And there's a little piece of me that feels like I'm the nut job. And I know that in many ways I am, but when it comes to my kids, I'd rather err on the side of, sorry, if you've never met them in person, you can't talk to them. So,
okay, but think about the time before phones, before kids had cell phones. Would your parent ever just take you and drop you off at anyone's house that you hadn't met? Would they be like, hey, someone said that that someone in that house is someone I go to school with? And then would your parent ever at that house to let you go in and play with somebody that even they hadn't met, that you hadn't met? Your parent wouldn't just drop you off at someone's house that you hadn't met. To me, it's the same concept, and we need to put it in real life context for our kids. Would you want me just to drop you off at some random house? Hey, someone there sent us a postcard and said they go to your school. Can they come over and play? Would you like me just to go drop you off at their house and expect you to be safe? Well, no, that's what a random telephone number is. I can't guarantee that you know that person and that I trust them. We need to turn it into real life scenarios so that our kids understand that and turn it away from that it's a phone and it's somebody we can always trust.
Thank you. That actually helps a lot.
Another thing I also find is it's what they tell you for keeping your kids safe from alcohol. It's decide before what you will do. Have your kids commit to, I won't drink alcohol. And if this is a party and someone's passing around drugs or someone's passing out a drink, here's what I'll do. And they decide before. It's the same thing with phones and the internet. Here are our rules. If something comes up on the screen, what are you going to do? You practice it. They do it. Here are the rules with our phones. And I will check your video. I will check your messages. I'll check your photos. Your phone stays with me at night. And they understand the parameters. I think the rules need to be set and everything needs to be clear, so that there are less miscommunications and confusion later on. We need to decide beforehand what those boundaries are. Anyone else have some feedback? Yeah, Emily. Exactly. One of the best things, she says in the chat, that when you set these standards, the kids won't like it at first, but they'll understand later. And that's really important to understand. We are not supposed to be our kids' friend. If they grow up to be adults and choose for us to be their friend, then what a blessing. But our role is to be their parent, and we need to parent and we need to set those boundaries so that they know where we stand. Thanks, Emily. Well, if no one has any other input, I just want to reiterate, please go back to the SASCO site, go to more and then to education series and watch these videos again. If you feel comfortable enough bringing your kids in and watching it with them, I think it's a great, if you already have an established relationship of talking about things, these are really important videos to watch with your children. Get them and then talk about them, pause it and say, what did you think about that? And then watch them over again with you and your spouse, and make sure that you guys have a good plan going forward. But go back and watch them and share these videos with your families, because the more people who see these and understand it, I think our kids will be stronger and they'll have the tools they need. And then just keep watching the Empowered Parents and Utah Parents United website for the follow-up series, the 10 critical skills, and then the Miss Independent Middle School, and some of the other classes that will be live and in person. But I really want to keep these going, because I just feel like this is essential for us as parents to have that training and get it in our minds, and also to help get these kids on a better track so that they can carry it on.
Okay, do we have a set date for that next one, for the one that you just mentioned?
Not yet. I'm waiting to hear back. My goal is to have it be the second Monday in June. If they can arrange an instructor. Right now they're doing all of their instructor trainings all through June and July, so it's a little bit hard to schedule them. But I would really like to have that go through June and July. But yeah, as soon as I hear back, we'll let people know so they can really get some forewarning to sign up for the class.
Awesome, thank you. So we will have another class on June 13th. That will be the second Monday in June. So watch for those, and it may be the continuation of this one. It may be something different. So just watch for the notifications for those classes. Does anyone have any other comments or questions? All right, even class ideas? What do you want us to bring to you?
Yeah, please email or comment on Kimberly L's okay, we'll look into her. But yeah, comment on the UPU site under this post. So for any future ideas, and we'll try to get those lined up for you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Do you want me to stop the recording or can you?
I think Audrey can.
Okay.
Thank you, Brooke. I don't know why my laptop, it does this weird reverberation sound thing. And so it just wasn't doing the video very good.
Oh, no worries. If you don't stop the recording, it goes for days. So I'm just going to stay on here to make sure somebody turns it off.
Okay.
Because then I was having like 24 hours of recording.
Oh, but it looks like Audrey left. So
Okay, do you mind if I stop it then?
no, please do.
Okay,